Hello there and Happy New Year, my fellow music lovers. Welcome to 2019. Are we going to have a good year? Are we going to have some really good music to check out, some good albums? How about some tours? Is there going to be anything worth buying tickets to go see? Well, I'm going to be talking about that in this video. There's already a lot of stuff that's on tap for 2019. Of course, we'll learn more as we get into the spring and summer as to what's really going to be coming in the fall and winter. But there's already been a lot that's been scheduled and a whole lot promised too. So going to get into that right now, okay? So on tap for 2019, in the not too distant future, we could be getting some new Motley Crue. They've got a biopic coming out called Dirt. This has been in the making for many, many years. Sound familiar? You know, kind of like Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody. This Motley Crue film has been in the works for many, many years, trying to get, the right cast, the right producers, and all that stuff. And it's finally going to be seeing the light of day on March the 22nd. It's going direct to Netflix. So what's that going to mean? I don't know. It could mean that maybe they'll get away with a little bit more there. You know, I know they don't have the same rating system as you do putting it into the theaters. And from what I've heard, there's going to be some pretty raunchy stuff going on here. So you're talking about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This isn't going to be a Bohemian Rhapsody, sanitized version of a band's history. This is going to be the real deal, and they bask in it. So to celebrate this, Motley Crue has decided to record 4 new songs. This according to Vince Neil, who announced that they're going into the studio. I think they're in there now working on these songs. They're going to go hand in hand with this biopic. Now, the real question is going to be, is the band going to be tempted to play live? What if this film blows up? And there's a lot of renewed interest in Motley Crue as a result. Is the band going to break their own contract? Because keep in mind, a lot of bands say this is it, this is the farewell thing, but they don't sign contracts like Motley Crue did. They wanted to put it in ink that this was it. And so far, Motley Crue has kept to their word. So let's see what happens with Dirt that's going to be coming out in March. Also, we've got Guns N' Roses. They are rumored to have completed a track for a T-Rex covers album. There's also rumors of a AC/DC album to come this year. You may remember last year fans snapped some photos of Brian Johnson and drummer Phil Rudd on the back porch of a studio. And then shortly after that, there was a cover put over that porch, so you couldn't see what was going on there. And so there's lots of talk about AC/DC probably in the studio working on some new album. But then again, the question comes up, what about touring? Because if they do have an album coming out next year, it's very possible there could be some sort of live performances. And who's going to be taking part in that? Is Brian Johnson going to be doing that, or are they going to go back to Axl? Brian Johnson still has some hearing issues. I mean, he's able to go out and do these one-offs. He performed with Billy Joel. He even did something with Muse. But for him to do a full 2-hour show, not sure if Brian Johnson is up to that, so we'll just have to see. We've also got the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who are supposed to have a new album out this year to follow up The Getaway, which came out a few years back. And they're already going to hit the road. They've got dates scheduled for Down Under. So look out for that if you're in the Australia part of the world. Also, The Circle, featuring Sammy Hagar, Michael Anthony, and also Jason Bonham. They are, supposedly getting ready to release their first studio album. It's going to be a concept album called Space Between, and there's going to be some touring around that. So look out for that. Also, Tool, much anticipated new Tool album for this year. From what I understand, they've already wrapped it up or very close, and we should be getting a release date on that soon. So far, don't have it, but look for Tool to be playing live as well in 2019. Also, look for possibly something new from Jimmy Page. I know that he's been promising stuff for many years, but we also know that he's been working hard on yet more Led Zeppelin reissues that all got exhausted last year. And now he says that he's ready to do something new, some kind of solo-related work. And he promised in an interview that there will be stuff coming from him this year. Now, what exactly that stuff is, it's hard to say. I know that there's been some talk of a Coverdale Page reissue, that album that he did with David Coverdale, but it's hard to say exactly what we're going to see from Jimmy. The Cure, they have a new album coming out this year. Of course, they're getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. and they haven't put an album out in 10 years, so they're way overdue. And so if you're a Cure fan, be looking out for that. Bruce Springsteen, he has a new album coming out as well, and it's supposed to be a singer-songwriter, like more like a straight-up solo album rather than a full E Street Band type of album. No tour or anything along those lines planned as of yet. We've also got Pearl Jam, who were supposed to put something out this year. In recent interviews from last year, they talked about how 2019 was going to be the year that they released something new, but there's been no definitive word on that yet. Also, Whitesnake, they were supposed to have an album out last year, but it got delayed. It's going to be out this year. It's called Flesh and Blood. It's going to be out in May. And the first single is going to be called Shut Up and Kiss Me. That should be coming out soon. And they're going to be on tour throughout the whole year. So if you want to go check them out, do it. And Rival Sons, you're a fan of that band. Now, I know we talk a lot about how there's no more rock and roll or real rock bands. We're looking to Greta Van Fleet for rock and roll. But let's not forget about Rival Sons. They're like 6 albums into their career now. And if Greta Van Fleet reminds you of Zeppelin, I know for me, when I heard Rival Sons, the singer reminds me of Paul Rodgers. The guy's got some great pipes, and I think that Rival Sons are a great, great rock band. Their next album's coming out this month, actually, on January 25th, called Feral Sons, so look out for that. Also, Dream Theater, getting into the more proggier stuff that's going to be coming out. They've got a new album coming out, much awaited. Distance Over Time. That comes out next month, actually, on February 22nd, and look for a tour as well. Then we got Steve Hackett of Genesis, formerly of Genesis, I should say. He's going to be doing this big tour all this year. He's going to be playing Selling England by the Pound, which is my favorite Genesis album. He's playing that in its entirety. First time he's ever done that. Plus, it's the 40th anniversary of Spectral Mornings, one of his most popular solo albums. He's going to be playing a lot from that too. So this is a great year to catch Hackett. Now, unfortunately, so far, I have seen 0 U.S. dates, which doesn't make me happy. I want to see this tour. And so hopefully Hackett can squeeze some time, maybe in the latter half of the summer where it looks like his schedule is a bit open. Maybe he'll do some U.S. shows there. I don't know, but for right now, he's doing a lot of stuff in Europe, some stuff in Canada. So if you're in those areas, you want to get tickets to go see Hackett, all right? Also, Rush related, we got Alex Lifeson and Marco Miniman working on an album together. Marco he's just an exceptional drummer. He's played with so many people. He recently played with UK when they got back for a reunion tour with John Wetton and Eddie Jobson, and he was really, really good on that. Plus, he's done so much other stuff. He's just a really good technical powerhouse drummer, and it should be interesting to hear what he comes up with Alex Lifeson. And so looking forward to that, but there's been no announcement of any date or anything. In terms of Yes, we're looking at the Yes Band with Steve Howe. They're going to be continuing their 50th anniversary tour, except this time it's going to be in Japan. And tickets will be going on sale soon for that. And there's also John Anderson and Rick Wakeman and Trevor Rabin, who were supposed to be picking up their 50th tour in the States sometime early this year, although no dates have been announced. John Anderson, though, has got a solo album that's supposed to be coming out called 1,000 Hands. There's no firm date for that yet. And this is an album. The reason why it's called 1,000 Hands is because it's a collaboration of John Anderson with a bunch of these artists from all over the world. This might be related to what he started talking about when I interviewed him many, many years ago, and he was talking about how he loved to collaborate with all kinds of people, and I know that he's been working on this project for many, many years. That's why it's called 1,000 Hands, is because there's just so many people involved in it. So that's going to be coming out soon, and he's also going to be doing a solo tour. Right now, he's got a handful of dates picked out in the spring. Now, in terms of touring in 2019, we've also got rumors that Van Halen might be doing a tour, a stadium tour, possibly playing at Yankee Stadium. This, of course, comes on the heels of David Lee Roth kind of almost spilling the beans in a recent interview where he talked about his band playing where the Yankees play. This has opened up all kinds of speculation. There's even talk of Michael Anthony rejoining for a original lineup tour. Now, we recently had Wolfie, Eddie's son, put out a tweet or two where he talked about being excited for what's coming next year. He made it sound like it was something that he had been working on, that he was excited to kind of get out. It didn't say anything about the band, I don't think. And we know that he's had a solo album that he has been working on and actually finished last year, but there's been no word on when it's coming out. So I wouldn't be shocked if Wolfie has his new album coming out next year, and I wouldn't be shocked if he wants to tour and play it. And who knows how that'll factor in with Van Halen. You know, maybe that's the reason why he would step aside from the band, or maybe he would open for the band. So it's really hard to say. We'll have to keep our eye on it. We've also got Woodstock celebrating its 50th anniversary next year. And we haven't had a Woodstock celebration since, I believe, 1999. They had one, of course, in 69, 50 years ago. There was one in 94, and then one again a few years later in 99. The one in 99, I think, is when they almost burned the whole thing down. Remember the Red Hot Chili Peppers playing, and there was these fires going on? It was quite a disaster. Maybe that's why Michael Lang, the original creator of Woodstock, doesn't want to hold the event at the original site. As a matter of fact, there's going to be two separate Woodstock shows. One is going to be at the original site where there's like a museum, and they're going to have bands, they're going to have some things going on, but it's not going to be what Michael Lang wants to do. He's going to do his own because he doesn't think that the original site can hold the kind of show that he wants to really do. And so there's going to be a separate Woodstock done by Lang somewhere. And who's going to be there? It's hard to say. We really don't know anything about either, but there's going to be two of them. So look out for some kind of an announcement soon about that. Also, we've got King Crimson celebrating 50 years. They're going to be doing a tour. Unfortunately, they've only got like 3 dates here in the States. I don't know if they're going to add more, but look for them to be on tour, especially in Europe and Japan. We've also got Nick Mason's Saucer Full of Secrets. Now, Nick Mason, of course, the drummer from Pink Floyd, he's gone out and he's going to be playing some shows. And what's interesting about Nick Mason's band is he's only going to be focusing on the earlier Pink Floyd stuff. He's not going to be competing with the Pink Floyd tribute bands out there who are doing stuff from like Animals and, you know, Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here. He's doing stuff like before Animals. And so it's going to be the more psychedelic stuff, the stuff that you rarely ever see or hear. So that's going to be his edge. So that should be interesting. That's going to be a tour that's going to be in the States coming up soon. Also, the Winery Dogs are going to be doing a 1-month tour of the U.S. coming up in May. I'm really looking forward to this. I've already got my ticket. The Winery Dogs are one of my favorite bands to come up over the past number of years. Of course, this band is made up of Mike Portnoy, Billy Sheehan, and Richie Kotzen. They put out a fantastic debut album a few years back. And I've already seen them live once, and it was just a killer show. This is a great, great trio. If you want to go see a great rock band, go check out the Winery Dogs. Great opportunity on this tour to go see them in a smaller venue. And believe me, you won't be disappointed. Great, great rock band, especially for Portnoy. He's one of the best living drummers out there. It's great to go watch him just jam on a drum kit. So be sure to check that out. Iron Maiden's going to be hitting the States for their Legacy of the Beast tour, and I'm looking forward to that. That's another show. I've already got my ticket. These things, it's kind of funny nowadays. They sell tickets like almost a year in advance. Like I bought my Iron Maiden ticket last year, and the show's not till July. It's amazing how they're selling tickets like almost a year ahead of time. But that's how they do it. And of course, this is an Iron Maiden tour where they're going to be taking a look back, a lot of stuff from the 80s in this set. So, really can't wait to go see that. The Rolling Stones are doing their first U.S. tour since 2015, the No Filter Tour. That's going to be a stadium tour already on sale. So if you want to go see the Stones, hey, this could be the last time the Stones play the U.S. And the reason why I say that is because these guys are so old, and you just don't know what's going to happen. At any moment, something could change with them and totally collapse the band. So if you want to go see them, believe me, you want to take advantage of it and go check out the Stones, all right? Another show that I hope to catch this year is going to be Journey Through Time. This is a band made up of Neil Schon of Journey, Greg Raleigh, formerly of Journey. He used to play keyboards, and also Dean Castronovo, who used to actually be in Journey, and he was in Bad English. He's a phenomenal drummer and a great, great singer, too. I mean, he can sing Steve Perry stuff like nobody's business. And they did a benefit show last year. It went very, very well. They've talked about doing a tour this year. It's supposed to be happening. Just haven't heard any details about it yet. But they're going to be playing a lot of the stuff that the band Journey doesn't play. A lot of stuff from the first few albums, stuff from the early days of Perry. It's looking like it's going to be a really good show, especially if you're a fan of the earlier days of Journey. So be looking out for that. Also, Greta Van Fleet's going to be on the road all next year. I would like to see them live. I talk a lot about them. I see a lot of videos of them on YouTube playing live, but I really wouldn't mind checking them out live, so we'll see. Also, look for Paul McCartney to get on the road next year to support his new album, Egypt Station. He actually just dropped a brand new song out of nowhere yesterday called Get Enough, which is heavily auto-tuned, I should say. I don't know what the story is behind that. I have a feeling he probably did it just for the effect of it. He doesn't really need it, even though his voice isn't what it used to be. I'm not really crazy about this new tune. The second half of it had some interesting things going on. I didn't really give it a great listen. All I can tell you is that the second half sounded better than the first half. But we've also got the Experience Hendrix tour that's going to be hitting the road again this year. Have you ever seen these? I've caught these a couple of times, actually, where basically they get a bunch of these guitar greats and they get together for one night and they play a bunch of Hendrix, and it's a who's who of really great artists. This time around, you can look for Joe Satriani, Dave Mustaine, Eric Johnson, Dweezil Zappa, also Kenny Aronoff is going to be on drums for certain shows. Kenny, of course, he brought the fire for John Mellencamp. He was his drummer for many, many years, and I think he really helped establish the Mellencamp sound. Kenny's always been one of my favorite drummers, and so look for that Experience Hendrix. Like I said, I've seen it a couple times, and it was really, really good, so try to check that out. Fleetwood Mac, of course, they're on the road. Still going with their two new members, Neil Finn and Mike Campbell. They're going to be touring the States, I think, through the spring, and then they're going to be going elsewhere around the world. Also, we've got Aerosmith. They're going to be doing a Vegas residency coming up soon. Judas Priest, they're going to continue their Firepower tour. That's going to be hitting the States again this year. No word yet on if Andy Sneap is going to continue taking over the guitar duties for Glenn Tipton. I know that Andy Sneap, he didn't mind stepping in for Tipton last year to do that tour, but he's really more of a studio guy. He doesn't really want to be away from the family for, months and months at a time. So we'll see if anything changes. But, that whole Judas Priest Deep Purple concert, like I mentioned recently, was my favorite one from last year. Really, really good show. Judas Priest still has it, no question about it. All right, and up next, we got Styx. They're going to be hitting the road this year with Larry the Cable Guy. That's right, a stand-up comic. What do you think about that? There's so many things about this. What do you think about bands touring with stand-up comics? Wouldn't you rather have another band? I would. This whole thing with Larry the Cable Guy, it just, I don't know. It's like, what's next? You play cruise ships, you play casinos, you with Larry the Cable Guy. Next year, maybe they'll play your barbecue in your backyard. I don't know. You may want to ask Tommy Shaw. And then we've got Queen. They're going to be doing a tour of the U.S. this summer, the Rhapsody Tour, of course, capitalizing on the major success of the Bohemian Rhapsody biopic that came out last year, the #1 musical biopic ever, I might add. So it's hard to believe that Queen is more popular here in the States now than they have been in decades. So if you want to go see Brian and Roger, now is the time to go do it here in the States, all right? And speaking of Brian May, he just released a brand new solo tune called New Horizons. He released it for NASA, and it's a pretty jamming track, features him on vocals. I'd say it's okay, nothing great, but it's all right. It sounds Queen-ish. Of course, how could it not with all that layered guitar, right? We've also got Steve Perry. What's going to go on with him this year? Steve Perry put a new album out last year called Traces. He has yet to perform it live in any way, not even a song here or there. He has talked about possibly performing live and doing some shows, but there's been no indication of it yet. I would think that if he's going to do anything, it will be this year, and we would hear something at some point soon. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Also, Heart. There has been talk about them doing a reunion this year. As a matter of fact, as late as October of last year, Nancy said that the chances of a Heart reunion in 2019 were looking good. And then we've got Carl Palmer, formerly of Emerson, Lake and Palmer, doing more solo shows this year. And there's talk about him doing a co-headline with Asia, meaning he would have double duties, which I'm sure he can handle. But the real question is going to be who would sing, since John Wetton, the original vocalist for Asia, passed away not too long ago. And of course, John Wetton is a great, great vocalist. Amazing pipes. And I don't think that you can replace him. I think it's a better idea just to let that band go away. I mean, I know you want to pay tribute, but really nobody can replace Wetton. So I hope that doesn't happen, to be honest with you. And then, of course, we have Hootie and the Blowfish. I mean, I'm sure you've been chomping at the bit to go see these guys, right? They're going to be on the group therapy tour along with the Bare Naked Ladies. Now, Hootie hasn't performed together in about 10 years. Darius Rucker, of course, left the band to pursue a career in country music, where he's been killing it, actually, doing very, very well there. So those guys are going to be hitting the road for some reunion dates. And then, of course, there's the slew of farewell tours that are always buzzing around. Last year, Kiss announced their End of the Road tour, and that kicks off this month. It's going to go on for 3 years, maybe more. I don't know. I mean, these are the same guys that said goodbye nearly 20 years ago, and they're still around. So who knows? We've also got Ace Frehley. He's going to be doing some dates, and Vinnie Vincent's supposed to be doing a show next month in Nashville in February. Hard to tell what that's going to be like. I saw some footage of Vinnie playing live not too long ago, and I noticed that he wasn't doing any solos. It was just a lot of the leads. And so it makes me wonder if he doesn't have his chops up. What's this show going to be like next month? He's got Carmine Appice and Tony Franklin as his backing band, so we'll have to see what happens there. Also on the farewell circuit, Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. He's announced his farewell tour. We've also got Joan Baez. I mean, she's nearly 80, and so she's looking at hanging it up. Elton John is also on one of these, like 3-year farewell tours. And, Elton John has been known to say, I'm done, I'm quitting, I'm retired. And then you just never know he comes back again. So I'm not sure if I really believe Elton, to be honest with you. Plus, he's got a film coming out, a biopic. That might add more fuel to his fire. So who the hell knows? Ozzy Osbourne, he's still on his No More Tours 2 tour. And he's even said lately that he shouldn't have called it that. Like, he's not going to quit touring. So let me just get this straight. You have an artist on the road with a No More Tours 2 tour, and he says he's not going to stop touring. I just want you guys to know that. He may not be touring the world like he used to, but if you think this is the end for Ozzy, you would be mistaken. It's not. Also, we've got Slayer. They're still on their final tour that I'm not sure when that's going to end, but they're another band that have said that they're going to be calling it quits. I think the lead singer just can't thrash the way that he used to. Like his neck is not going to be able to hold up. And so I think Slayer will be calling it quits soon. We just don't have an end date yet that I'm aware of. And then, of course, there's Leonard Skinner. They're another one. They're on the road for their final shows, although no final show has been announced. So anyway, there's a look at a lot of the notable artists, bands that have got some new stuff coming out. Some tours that are going to be happening this year. What do you think? What are you looking most forward to? What shows are you going to go try and see? Or what would you like to see maybe that has not been announced yet? Or maybe you know of some other stuff that I didn't talk about. I mean, this isn't everything. This is just the stuff that I care most about. So anyway, drop it down below. Let me know what you think. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button. Would love to hear from you. And I'll be talking to you soon.